I don't know about you, but I remember when I was just a kid, my parents would just stick me into every sport, every youth group, and every fun thing they could find. Something about building character or making friends or whatever. I mean, it shaped me to be quite a versatile 10-year-old, though. I was a clarinet player, a gourmet chef, according to the cooking camp I went to, a soccer player, a really bad hip-hop dancer, a track high jumper, and a player of every sport that ends with the word ball. But as I've grown older, I've noticed it's not as common for people to pursue so many different things. A lot of the time, we just choose one activity, and that becomes your world. It becomes who you are. It's kind of like if you've ever seen a John Hughes movie or any other classic coming-of-age film, they always have a very particular scene in common that encompasses this idea. It always starts with all of the students in the cafeteria. And in this scene, it pans from one side of the room to the other. It goes from the nerds, to the jocks, to the skaters, to the cheerleaders, and so on. This is supposed to produce a sense of nostalgia and relatability. But most importantly, it's to show the different cliques and categories that we as students are placed into. Now, when I was younger, I always thought this was ridiculous. But now, at the wise age of 16, and a survivor of almost 3 years of high school, well, I've come to the realization that maybe these movies were right. Maybe these labels do play an extremely crucial role in high school. I mean, if you think about it, that's essentially what college counselors tell us to do, right? They tell us to pick your thing. Put all of your time and energy towards one field, and well, to say it simply, colleges will eat it up. But what if your thing is actually a things, plural? You're the new kid in the movie, awkwardly hovering in the middle of the cafeteria, unable to choose what table to sit at? Well, that's me. To illustrate this a bit further, take the cinematic masterpiece of a film, High School Musical. In the movie, the protagonist, Troy Bolton, runs into a dilemma when his basketball game and the school musical auditions are at the same time. You know, the part where he frantically runs around because his head's in the game but his heart's in the song? Well, that's my life. But without all the singing, of course. You see, I love sports. I play field hockey in the fall and lacrosse in the spring. Okay, so that makes me a sports kid, right? A jock defined by excessive amounts of running shoes and weirdly shaped sports sticks? Well, here's the problem. I also love acting. Now look, I know I'm not going to go play for some D1 college, and I'm not going to Juilliard or Broadway to act, but these two things are my two passions. And I've come to the realization that a lot of the time, high schools don't accommodate for any conflicting situations. They tell us to pick your thing and stick with it. There's no need for crossover, right? It's kind of like High School Musical. I was in that situation. Earlier this fall, I was extremely excited to not only play field hockey, but to also act in the school show. However, just like Troy Bolton, I quickly found out that auditions and the first game of the season were at the same time. And to make matters even worse, every single practice and every single rehearsal were on the same days at the same time, meaning I had to choose. Now, already being a very indecisive person, I felt stuck. I could feel myself physically being pulled in two separate directions, as I had friends on one side telling me to do one thing, and friends on the other telling me to do the complete opposite. I was frustrated and mad that I even had to choose in the first place. But the reality is, you can't play on a sports team and not go to the games, and you can't act in a show and not go to the rehearsals. So, what did I do? That's right, I quit both. I'm kidding, I didn't do that. I actually decided I was just going to focus on field hockey that season. So I skipped auditions and went to the game. Now, we didn't exactly win a lot of games, And I also dislocated my shoulder in the process, but overall, it was an extremely memorable experience, and I'm really glad I did it. But I didn't just give up on theater either. I'm the publicist for the Theater Executive Board, and I do fundraising and activities, and I help with drama club at lunch. In this way, I could keep my passion for theater and my passion for sports alive. And when the field hockey season ended, I was able to audition for the winter show and actually get a pretty big role. Not only that, I practiced my stick skills and worked out on the weekends for the upcoming season. And right now, while the musical is happening, I'm currently playing lacrosse. But that largely has to do with the fact that I can't sing. With that, I'm also helping backstage for the show, doing publicity, and cheering on all of those people who actually can sing. The lessons that I learned in this whole situation were, one, my parents really should have gotten me singing lessons. And two, life gets complicated. We are told to just choose one thing, to focus all of your concentration and effort on it. But for me, I'm going to continue to balance my two passions. And I wonder if people truly belong in just one category. I wonder if those kids in the school cafeteria just want to walk across the room one day and sit at another table. I think that nobody is truly just one thing. Yet we choose to accept these walls that society, or even worse, high schoolers, put around us. So I say, be the baseball player who loves to cook. Be the journalist who has a really good singing voice. Be the math genius who also makes rap music on the side. And be the theater kid who dislocated her shoulder in the middle of a field hockey game, even when there was nobody around her. So let's go back to being kids. Being vulnerable and doing the things you love, even when life tries so hard to limit you. Labels can be written, but they can just as easily be torn up. You don't have to choose just one thing to be your thing. Because just like in High School Musical, we're breaking free. Oh, we're breaking free. Thank you.